All right, let's look at some other definitions for the average rate of change. And these I think are going to look fairly familiar to you. Let's see if you can recognize what they are. So we have these from earlier. We have the average rate of change is the change in y over the change in x, or delta y over delta x. You can also write this as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if we let x1 be equal to some value a, then our y1 is going to be f of a. So we can take whatever that a value is and plug it into our function, and we'll get our y value. And same thing, we can do x2 is equal to b. So our y2 will be f of b. Okay, and we're pulling this in to use this notation with this interval here. So that's our a and b, our left and right endpoints. So this y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 can be rewritten as f of b minus f of a over b minus a. Okay, and this should look really familiar to our formulas for finding the slope of a line. Okay, so hopefully this looks a little bit familiar to you. Let's give this a try. So number 7, let f of x be x squared plus 4. We're going to find the average rate of change between x equals 1 and x equals 4. So in other words, what we're going to do is we're going to find f of 4 minus f of 1 over 4 minus 1. So we're using this f of b minus f of a formula here. So my f of 4 would be, I'll plug 4 in for x, so I get 4 squared plus 4. And my f of 1 is going to be, I'll put a 1 in for my x, so I get 1 squared plus 4. All right, so I know 4 squared is 16, and then if I add 4, I get 20. And 1 squared is just 1, plus 4 is 5. And one way of doing this on a calculator, you can use, if you have a graphing calculator, you can put this into the y equals. So I'll put in my x squared plus 4 formula, so x squared plus 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my table is set on the right where I want it to be. So I'm going to start at 0 and just go by ones. So if those weren't 0 and 1, you can just type over them and hit enter. And then I'm going to push for this button here that has the table. So when my x is 4, I get 20, which is what we have here. So that's good. We did our math right. And when f is 1, I get 5, which is the same thing we have here. So this is another way of getting those values, or just double checking your work to make sure that you didn't make an arithmetic error. So our average rate of change here, so I need f of 4 minus f of 1. So I have 20 minus 5 over 4 minus 1. So that gives me 15 over 3, and that'll be 5. Okay. I would always recommend, especially on a test, showing this step and definitely this step before you simplify it, just because heaven forbid you make an arithmetic error, this work that you've shown here is worth a lot of points. So if you had done this correctly and this correctly, you just made a simple mistake here and you said this was 4 instead of 5, that would be like 9 points out of 10. Okay, because it's clear that you understand what's going on and you must have just punched a button incorrectly on your calculator or something like that. So I would definitely recommend showing this kind of work on the test. All right, let's try this next one. So number 8. So we have 25 minus x squared. We're finding the average rate of change between x equals 1 and x equals 3. So I have my f of 3 and an f of 1. So I get 25 minus, and then I'll put a 3 in for x. 3 squared, and this one will be 25 minus 1 squared. And this is 25 minus 9 will give me 16. This is 25 minus 1 will give me 24. That's 3 times 3 is 9, so 25 minus 9 is 16. And again, you can always put this into your calculator. So our new function is 25 minus x squared. And my table will still have the same values from before, so I can go straight to it. And when x is 1, I get 24. That's great. And then when it's 3, I get 16. Make sure we've got that right. Yep. Okay. So that's good. We've got our math correct. So our average rate of change here, f of 3 minus f of 1 over 3 minus 1. So 16 minus 24 is a negative 8. 3 minus 1 is 2, so our average rate of change is a negative 4. All right, I would like you to go ahead and pause the video, give this a try on your own. This would be a good chance just to make sure you feel comfortable doing this for the homework. All right, let's give this last one a whirl. So I have f of x is x squared plus x, and we're interested in the average rate of change between x is 2 and x is 5. So I'll need f of 5 and f of 2. Okay. And it's really important that you start to kind of put these two ideas together. So if you're asked to find the average rate of change, you're always being asked to use this formula here. Okay, so the problem may not say, in other words, find this, but if you see any wording to that effect, this is what you're being asked to do. All right, so I have x squared plus x. So my x is 5, so I have 5 squared plus 5. And then for f of 2, I have 2 squared plus 2. This will be 25 plus 5 gives me 30. 2 squared is 4, so 4 plus 2 is 6. So my average rate of change here, so f of 5 minus f of 2 over 5 minus 2. So 30 minus 6 is 24. 5 minus 2 is 3, so that gives me 8 as my average rate of change.